What if your search for who you are has been taking you in the wrong direction? What if the truth you've been chasing isn't out there waiting to be found, but quietly resting behind every breath, every moment of stillness, every flicker of presence? You've worn so many names. You've played so many roles. You've tried to fit into shapes that never felt quite right, tried to meet expectations that didn't belong to your soul. And still, somewhere deep inside, you've always known you are not what the world says you are. You are not the pain that shaped you. You are not the image in the mirror. You are not even the voice in your head. You are the one who sees, the one who remembers, the one who was there before the story began and will remain long after it ends. Today, we're going to return to that place within you, not to become someone new, but to come home to what never left. Look into a mirror and you'll see a face, a shape, skin wrapped around stories. Maybe you'll recognize it instantly, or maybe you'll study it for a few seconds and think, who am I really looking at? Now close your eyes. That image is gone. But you are still here. The one who was looking, the one who sees, hasn't moved. It hasn't aged, it hasn't spoken, it's not worried about appearance or memory, it's just present, quiet, awake. And this, right here, is the beginning of a profound shift. We live most of our lives as if we are the image in the mirror. We identify with the face, the gender, the hairstyle, the imperfections. We believe the shape we carry is the same thing as the one who carries it. But that's never been true, because what you are, what you've always been, is not the image, not the thought, not the emotion. It's the one who witnesses them. This may sound strange, but it's not a philosophy. It's an experience you've had before many times. Think of a time you felt completely overwhelmed, maybe by sadness or joy or anxiety. In that moment, a wave of feeling flooded your mind and body. But even then, wasn't there some part of you, however quiet, that noticed what was happening? The sadness came, but you were aware of it. The joy came, but you felt it rising and falling. The anxiety surged, but you observed its grip. That awareness, that still unmoving presence is not the emotion, it is what holds it. It is the background of every experience. You were there when your first memory was formed, you were there when your beliefs changed, you were there when you learned to love and when you learned to let go. But the you who was there is not a fixed identity. It's not your name, it's not your history, it's consciousness itself. This is easy to forget because we've been trained to focus outward, to build identities, to polish images, to chase labels that make us feel safe. I am this, we say. I am not that. But all of these are costumes, roles worn by something much deeper. And that something never judges, never reacts, never rushes. It just watches with the same quiet attention, whether you're succeeding or failing, laughing or falling apart. It's not indifferent, it's unconditional. It welcomes whatever arises. It makes space for every part of your humanity, and it never leaves. Try this now. Close your eyes for a few seconds and bring your attention inward. Don't chase your thoughts. Don't try to silence them. Just notice them moving, like clouds drifting across the sky. Now ask yourself, what is noticing all this? Not who, but what? The answer won't come as a word. It won't be a concept. It will be a felt sense, a stillness, a knowing that you are the space in which everything else appears. You are the sky, not the weather. Your thoughts are not you. They are events, activities. They come and go, rise and fall, contradict each other, and repeat. You don't control most of them. They come from memory, culture, fear, hope, biology. And yet, we believe them without question. We attach to them as if they define reality. But thoughts are not facts. They are clouds. The witness, your awareness, is the only constant. And when you begin to live from that awareness, even just a little, something shifts. You stop needing to win every inner argument. You stop identifying so strongly with every judgment. You stop being pulled into every emotional storm. Instead, you begin to watch with presence, with openness, with space. You might still feel sadness, but now you feel it from awareness. You might still get angry, but now you know anger is just moving through the sky. You don't become the weather, you hold it. And this is not detachment, it's freedom. Because once you realize you are not the contents of your experience, you can meet all of life with softness. You can allow more, judge less. You become less defensive, less reactive, more real. You're not trying to fix yourself anymore. You're simply remembering what you've always been. Not a character, not a resume, not a story. But the one who sees the story unfold, this seeing isn't passive. It's deeply alive. It's the root of creativity, compassion, and clarity. And the more you return to it, the more you rest. As the observer, the more peace enters your life. Because the observer is not anxious. The observer is not ashamed. The observer is not in a rush. It doesn't need to prove anything because it already is, and it is enough. So begin to shift your attention from what you are observing to the one who is observing. Begin to rest in that space. Behind the eyes, behind the thoughts, behind the name, the more you do, the more you'll begin to recognize that this presence, this awareness is not in your life. It is your life. It is the real you. And the beauty is, it was never missing. It was only overlooked. You've probably heard it your whole life. You need to grow, you need to improve, you need to become someone better. And so you try, you read the books, you set the goals, you fix your posture, your habits, your voice, you chase a future version of yourself that feels just out of reach, wiser, calmer, more whole. But what if that chase is the very thing keeping you from the peace you're seeking? What if you don't need to become anything? What if you only need to remember, because underneath the effort, underneath the striving, there is a version of you that has never been broken, never been behind, never been less than enough. You were born whole, not because you did something to earn it, not because you proved your worth, but simply because you are. Look at a baby. They don't know how to achieve. They don't perform. They don't hustle. And yet, we cradle them, protect them, marvel at them. Why? Because their value is obvious. It's not something they carry, it's what they are. Somewhere along the way, we forget this. We start measuring ourselves by achievements, appearances, and praise. We start believing that worth is something to be earned. And with each layer we add each expectation, each label, we drift further from the original stillness inside us. But that stillness never leaves. It doesn't need healing, it doesn't need polishing. It simply waits patiently, silently for us to return. When we sit quietly, when we stop trying to fix ourselves, we can begin to hear it again. Not as a voice, but as a presence, a sense of being, a gentle reminder you are already enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. You don't need to prove yourself to silence. You don't need permission to belong to this moment. You already do. This isn't a message of passivity. It's not saying don't grow. Growth is natural. Expansion is part of life. But true growth does not come from shame. It does not come from a sense of lack. It comes from remembering that you are already whole and allowing that wholeness to express itself more fully. When a flower blooms, it doesn't do so because it hates its current shape. It opens because the sun touches it, the roots are nourished, and it simply is time. The same is true for you. When you remember your nature as awareness, growth becomes a side effect of love, not a punishment of not being good enough. It becomes an unfolding, not a race. This kind of remembering brings rest. For the first time in years, maybe decades, you don't have to chase a better version of yourself. You can meet yourself exactly as you are and say, yes, this is enough. I am here, I am whole. And from that place of rest, you begin to see more clearly. You begin to notice how many of your inner voices don't belong to you. The voice that says you're too much or not enough, that was borrowed from a teacher, from a parent, from a culture obsessed with constant improvement. You were never born thinking you needed to earn your place in the world. That was learned. And it can be unlearned, not by force, but by seeing through it. You begin to speak to yourself differently. You stop asking, how can I fix myself? You start asking, can I be with myself? You stop asking, what's wrong with me? You start asking, what part of me is asking for love right now? This is the return, not to some perfect identity, but to the presence that holds all identities with softness. And when you return there, even briefly, you begin to notice something miraculous. You don't need to find peace. You are peace. You don't need to find love. You are what love feels like before it turns into words or actions. This doesn't mean you'll never feel sadness again, or doubt, or fear. It means you'll stop thinking those emotions are evidence that something is wrong with you. You'll stop believing that inner storms are signs of failure. Instead, you'll hold them the way the sky holds thunder, spaciously, openly, with room to move. And slowly, gently, your relationship with yourself begins to transform. You wake up and greet your reflection not with criticism but with curiosity. You feel pain and meet it with breath, not resistance. You fall short and offer compassion instead of judgment. Because you know now, your worth is not something you can lose. It is what remains when everything else falls away. So if you've spent your life chasing a better version of yourself, pause. Not because growth is bad, but because rest is sacred. And in the stillness, you may hear a quiet voice say, you're already home. You've always been. Close your eyes for just a moment and notice what's here. There might be a sound in the background, the feeling of your clothes on your skin, a thought drifting through your mind. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a doubt. Maybe it's nothing in particular, just a quiet hum of being alive. All of that is happening. But what's more important is where it's happening. What is the space in which that sound arises? What is the background behind that thought? What is the container for all those sensations? That space is you, not your personality, not your story, not the roles you play, but the silent field of awareness in which everything happens and eventually disappears. From the moment you were born, experiences have been moving through this field. First, the color of light, then a voice, then hunger, then joy, then language, then identity, all of it flowing like weather, all of it being known by something that never changes. That knowing that field is what you truly are. And here's the most radical part. Nothing that happens within that space can touch the space itself. Your awareness is not changed by the content it holds. It simply allows, it witnesses, it makes room. Thoughts come and go, but the space remains. Emotions rise and fall, but the space remains. Pain, pleasure, confusion, clarity, they pass through, but they never stain the field that holds them. This is not something to believe, it's something to experience. And you already have, you just may not have noticed. Think back to a time when you felt deep sadness. Maybe you cried. Maybe you felt like you would break, but something in you knew the sadness was happening. Something was aware of it even as it took over. That awareness wasn't sad. It was just present, holding the storm without trying to stop it. That is your true self. Not the storm, not the reaction, but the space. This awareness is not passive, it is powerful, not in the way of force, but in the way of stillness. It allows everything without resistance. It watches without judgment. It holds without fear. It is the same awareness in all beings. The same presence that looks through your eyes, listens through your ears, breathes your breath. It's not yours in the sense of possession, it is you, before any label, before any idea. And once you begin to recognize yourself as this awareness, everything shifts. You no longer feel the need to chase every thought. You no longer believe every emotion is who you are. You stop living like a wave, tossed by every high and low, and begin to rest as the ocean itself. This doesn't mean life becomes flat. On the contrary, it becomes more vivid, more alive, more free. Because when you stop identifying with the content of your experience, you can finally meet it fully. You can feel grief without drowning in it. You can celebrate joy without clinging to it. You can make space for anger, love, longing, boredom, all without losing yourself in their shapes. Why? Because you are the space. And the space does not cling, it does not push away. It simply is. And it is vast, vaster than your fears, vaster than your thoughts, vaster than the version of yourself you've tried to perfect. You may wonder, but what does that mean for my life? It means you're free. Free to experience without attachment. Free to change without losing your core. Free to love without fear of loss. Because love is not something you give or get. It is the natural quality of the space when it opens fully. You don't need to figure it all out. You don't need to have the right words. The mind may struggle with this, but the heart knows. The heart knows what it feels like to return to the ground of being, to be still, to be whole, to be here. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by thoughts, pause, ask yourself, who is noticing this thought? The next time emotion surges, pause, ask yourself, where is this feeling happening? Not intellectually, but directly. Feel it, sense it. Let your attention drop beneath the content into the container, into the space. And in that space, you'll find a presence that has always been there, watching, welcoming, unmoved. That's not a place you visit, that's who you are. Everything else, your name, your preferences, your history, is just experience flowing through. Let it flow. And remember, the sky is never harmed by the storm. The mirror is never changed by what it reflects. The awareness that you are has never been touched by what you've lived through. It has only held it silently, lovingly, and it holds you now. Pause for a moment. Just be still. Let your breath move without effort. Let the sounds around you pass through. Let the body rest. There's nothing to fix here, nothing to solve. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not broken. You are simply here, and here is enough. We've been taught to treat life like a project, something to manage, perfect, and control, as if each moment needs to be shaped into something more, as if there's a right way to live, a goal to reach, a version of yourself that finally means you've arrived. But what if life isn't a ladder to climb? What if it's a dance, not choreographed, not rehearsed, just movement, spontaneous, alive, unfolding in real time? What if your job is not to control it, but to feel it, to flow with it, to meet it as it is? Because when you drop into presence, truly drop in, you begin to notice something that the mind often misses. This moment doesn't need to be different. This breath doesn't need to be deeper. This version of you doesn't need to be more enlightened. It is already sacred, exactly as it is. Not because it's perfect, not because it's peaceful, but because it's real, because it's alive, because it is the current expression of the infinite, and you are its witness. And more than that, you are its participant. You are the consciousness of the universe, focused through a human life, exploring itself in all its nuance, in doubt, in clarity, in laughter, in heartbreak. You are not separate from the unfolding. You are the unfolding. And when you truly understand this, not as an idea, but as a knowing that lives in your bones, something remarkable happens. Life becomes softer, not because it gets easier, but because you stop pushing against it. You stop arguing with reality. You stop trying to wrestle truth into your preferred shape. Instead, you listen, you respond, you move with the current rather than against it. This is the essence of presence, a full-bodied yes to what is here now. That doesn't mean you abandon discernment. It doesn't mean you don't make choices. It means your actions arise from clarity, not from fear, from trust, not from force. You become less of a manager and more of a musician, improvising with the rhythm of what life offers. And in this improvisation, beauty is born, even in the messy parts. Because beauty isn't just in sunsets and poetry. Beauty is in authenticity, in presence, in the quiet way you hold space for your own sadness, in the kindness that slips into your voice when someone else forgets who they are. You don't have to try to be spiritual. You don't need the perfect posture or mantra or practice. Your presence is the practice. Your willingness to show up for this moment just as it is the deepest devotion there is. And from that place of devotion, a new kind of clarity arises. You realize that even when you thought you were lost, you were being held. Even when you doubted yourself, Something within you never doubted your worth. Even when you felt far away from life, you were still woven into the fabric of it. You have never been outside the flow. You have never been disconnected. You've simply forgotten, as we all do from time to time. But now you remember. You remember that you are not here by accident. You are not a mistake. You are not a glitch in some cosmic algorithm. You are an expression of the whole. And that wholeness moves through you with every breath, every thought, every step, even the ones you thought were wrong. Because nothing is wasted, nothing is left out. Everything belongs. Your joys, your struggles, your doubts, your dreams. They are not distractions from awakening, they are the path, each one a brushstroke in the painting of your life, each one sacred, necessary, enough. And as you begin to honor this, you begin to trust life more deeply. You stop needing guarantees. You stop waiting for certainty. You lean into the mystery, not with fear, but with wonder, because you've tasted the truth. You are not separate from life. You are life, aware of itself. And what could be more worthy of reverence than that? So go gently. Walk through the world with soft eyes and an open heart. Let presence be your anchor and awareness your home. You don't need to know what's next. You don't need to get it all right. Just stay close to what's real. Stay close to what's here. Because what's here is holy, and so are you. If something in this journey touched you, if even a single moment brought you back to yourself, back to your breath, back to the quiet place beneath all thought, I invite you to stay. This space was made for those who feel deeply, for those who are tired of pretending, for those who long not just to be better, but to be real, to live awake, to meet life with open hands and a soft gaze. If you'd like to continue exploring this unfolding, I invite you to subscribe. Let this be a place you return to when the world is loud, when the mind is restless, when you need a reminder that you're not alone. Leave a comment if something resonated, or simply share your silence, your presence, your breath. I read every message, and together we create a field of reflection far wider.